Hello again, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for this Thursday's edition of Alaska Weather on this 13th day of August 2020. I'm Dave Percy, a meteorologist with the National Weather Service, and I'll be hosting today's show. Up first, we've got kind of the weekend outlook for Southeast Alaska. Friday through Sunday. For Friday, rain heavy at times down south, slowly spreading northward throughout the day. Maybe some sun breaks up in the north early on, but for Friday night, Saturday, periods of heavy rain, periods of rain, heavy at times for the southern areas, both Saturday and Sunday, and it'll be wet even in the north, but looks like the heaviest rainfall with the system coming in will be over the southern panhandle with lighter amounts to the north. And from there, we'll take a look at the next slide here showing AKwx on Nunivak Island. Clear skies, obviously. One cumulus cloud out there, a lone one, and a little bit of high stuff as well. But generally, clear skies, sunshine, temperature 60 degrees. Very nice day out there. And along the west coast, most of the northern Bering Sea had a lot of clear skies today. Winds here at AKwx just northeast 8 miles an hour, and again temperature 60 degrees, so a very nice summer day there. And also other areas such as Savunga, much the same conditions with clear skies. And from there we'll see for the hazardous weather graphics, there are no watches, warnings, or advisories anywhere in the state for the next day or so, and hopefully through the weekend actually. And even out west, even though there will be another storm moving into the western Bering, slowly pushing eastward over the next couple of days. Otherwise, we had a weak trough bringing some light precipitation to the southern southeast coast today, a few breaks over the central areas, and then some shower activity to the north. Juneau picking up about 0.12 of an inch, while Metlakatla had 0.07 of an inch, and those were about the two heaviest amounts. Some areas didn't get anything at all, but there was moisture in over the southeast interior with some precipitation associated with those clouds. Afternoon shower at Eureka, 0.02 of an inch mid-afternoon today. Otherwise, Nabesna and both Northway picked about 0.2 of an inch of precipitation today, and that tapers off as you get over toward Fairbanks. And you can see good sunshine there over the northern Bering Sea in most areas, right on down along the southwest coast, Kuskokwim Valley, into Kodiak Island. Clear skies today, temperatures into the 60s, and Cook Inlet becoming mostly sunny. Susitna Valley, temperatures in the mid to upper 60s, with lower 70s today from the southwest coast. Marshall had 72, Bethel 72, 72 degrees also at Sleepmute and McGrath, as well as Tanana there. Up into the interior, looks like nothing but sun along the Yukon River Valley until you get up there toward where it meets the Porcupine. And then there was some showers and light showers at Eagle, and then that break over the Yukon Flats, and you pick up some more shower activity over the central eastern Brooks Range that extends on out to the eastern North Slope, with a little bit of moisture around the Point Barrow area. Otherwise, clear skies at Nome this afternoon with some clouds at Tin City, but mostly sunny for the Seward Peninsula. And the Pribilofs in the clouds, you can see that back edge slowly shifting westward. Whether it makes it into St. Paul still remains to be seen, but you can also see some breaks around Adak. And rainfall, light rain tapering off at Unalaska this afternoon with that system over the Alaska Peninsula. That brought about 0.2 of an inch of precipitation, or 1/4 of an inch of precipitation to Cold Bay, with otherwise lighter amounts along the Alaska Peninsula and tapering off to the west. Moisture staying south of the Pribilofs. Low clouds and fog over the central Bering Sea. Generally a cloudy day for the Aleutians, but there were some breaks around Adak and Atka this afternoon, but not to the extent that it was over the northern Bering Sea. That 1,020 millibar high set up right over St. Lawrence Island. Another center there over the western Brooks Range, North Slope areas. And a weak disturbance brought a little bit of moisture there, as I mentioned, to the eastern North Slope. And more extensive area of moisture and clouds over the eastern interior expands westward. Again, isolated showers getting into the Talkeetna Mountains, and a few isolated showers over the Kenai Peninsula into the western Copper River Basin area. But Cordova seen some light rain shower activity this afternoon, and they picked up about a tenth of an inch of precipitation with the light rain over the northern panhandle, some showers down to the south of that low cutting in across the Queen Charlotte Islands. Farther to the west there, south-southeast of Kodiak, 1,007 millibar low, which tonight will make a pretty good jog to the east-northeast, and that'll spread rain over the southern half of the panhandle, becoming moderate to possibly heavy at times toward morning over the southern areas, Prince of Wales Island, Metlakatla, Ketchikan, and those areas. But it'll stay mostly cloudy, maybe some breaks over the northern southeast coast. The weak trough keeps chance of showers in the Cordova, Cape Yakataga area, as well as the Copper River Basin, mainly central and eastern areas, Wrangell Mountains on up into the eastern Alaska Range. And lingering showers possibly over the western Alaska Range, otherwise decreasing clouds across the central and western interior. A few clouds over the Seward Peninsula, Kotzebue Sound area, but most of that staying along the over the Bering Sea off the coast. Chance of showers lingers there over the Alaska Peninsula tonight as that weak low tracks off to the southeast, pulls away, and then farther to the west, you can see the next front brings a chance of rain and a little bit of an increase in the east-south or the south-southeast winds to Shimei and Attu late tonight. That will bring increased wind and rain into the western Aleutians, but it looks like it'll stay west of Adak through the day tomorrow until tomorrow evening. High pressure dominating the Bering Sea, low clouds, fog, light wind conditions. IFR will be quite widespread there and should increase over the northern Bering Sea over what we had today and extend through the Bering Strait and along the Arctic coast, with a weak disturbance bringing some possible measurable amounts of precipitation to the far eastern Arctic coast north slope. Isolated thunderstorms possible developing over the central Brooks Range as well as the Talkeetna Mountains and down over the Aleutian Range. Probably won't reach Kodiak Island, but northeast, mostly over the Aleutian Range would be the best chance of some thunderstorm activity. Otherwise, wet, breezy, and possibly moderate to heavy amounts of rain falling over the southern panhandle, with rain now probably up into southern Lynn Canal. Whether it makes Skagway and Haines, definitely be cloudy though if it doesn't make it that far north. And moving on to the first day of the weekend, Saturday. That system out west presses up against the high ridge there and pushes it eastward and kind of narrows it a little bit, but staying along just off the coast over the eastern Bering there, across Unalaska Island, extending up with that high center persisting over St. Lawrence Island, and then some weak ridging into the Chukchi Sea. So low clouds, fog, light winds continue pretty widespread there from the southeast Bering northward through the strait and along the Arctic coast. And again, disturbances tracking east-southeastward, just clipping the eastern Arctic coast and Brooks Range area and North Slope for some shower activity, but it'll be on the light side and less in the way of shower activity, but still lingering there for the eastern Alaska Range and the upper Tanana Valley, but amounts will be quite light. And that front keeps it wet over the panhandle, the whole system weakening now in the frontal boundary, so we'll probably see lighter amounts of rain in the afternoon, but still some pretty good amounts over the southern areas. That'll be the heaviest amounts. Wind not much of a factor at all with this system at this point, but rain will extend all the way up into the Yukon. Otherwise, sunny skies, Kodiak Island, temperatures in the lower 70s, sunshine, Bristol Bay, 70s over south central Alaska. In fact, upper 70s to near 80 for the Susitna Valley. Madanuska Valley into the Kenai Peninsula areas, a little cooler over the eastern and southeast interior there with the clouds, but even looking for 70s over the Tanana Valley, Kuskokwim Valley, and possibly the Kobuk Valley. Moving on to lows for tonight, 40s on the Arctic coast, North Slope, mid to upper 40s over much of interior Alaska, all the way down into Bristol Bay, as well as the Alaska Peninsula, mid 40s central Aleutians, and near 50 for Kodiak. Otherwise, upper 40s, lower 50s for the Panhandle. Highs for Friday afternoon. 70s showing up, much like today, over the Kuskokwim Valley, down into northeast Bristol Bay. 74 possibly for King Salmon, as well as Tanana. 70s for the Fairbanks area and upper Yukon Valley, as well as Susitna, Madanuska Valley, Copper River Basin, Kenai Peninsula inland areas into the lower 70s, lower 60s Kodiak. Mid-60s for the Alaska Peninsula and upper 50s to lower 60s for the Panhandle, followed by lows mostly in the 40s just about everywhere. A few lower 50s showing up over the Panhandle. followed by highs well into the 70s. Again, 75 to 80 south central Alaska, with mid-70s in the Tanana Valley and mid-70s for Bristol Bay and 50s for the Panhandle.
And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Moving into the flying weather graphic here for Friday morning, IFR along right along the Arctic coast, along the coastline there, but VFR, North Slope, across the Brooks Range, and just about all of interior Alaska. Got some marginal VFR and IFR there over the Copper River Basin to the eastern Alaska Range, northern Panhandle, starting out VFR, southern Panhandle there with the system sliding in, southwest flow aloft, IFR over the southern part of the southeast coast, IFR, the Aleutians, and south central and southwest Bering Sea up to St. Matthew Island, and marginal VFR up to St. Lawrence Island and in across the Yukon Delta and the northwest coast. And for the afternoon, a more solid area of IFR out over the Bering Sea, and mostly IFR for the Aleutians, but some marginal VFR and possible VFR for Unalaska Island. And the Alaska Peninsula, mostly VFR, except right along the north coast there, IFR into Bristol Bay, IFR from Nunivak Island along the Yukon Delta coast, and then up catching, it looks like Point Hope, maybe Cape Lisburne, marginal VFR in the Arctic coast, VFR in the interior, although some marginal VFR over Cook Inlet due to some low clouds, and IFR over the southern Panhandle, VFR in the north. And for Saturday morning, that area of IFR in the southeast coast expands northward to at least Juneau and to Elfin Cove with marginal VFR on up to Skagway and Haines. VFR, though, are Yakutat, North Gulf Coast, and marginal VFR Kenai Peninsula. IFR out west, Bering Sea, the Aleutians, and the Yukon Delta, Nunivak Island through the Bering Strait, northwest coast, Kotzebue Sound, maybe in the Selawik Valley, IFR along the Arctic coast, some marginal VFR, eastern Brooks Range, VFR in the interior. And more VFR in the interior for Saturday afternoon, maybe some marginal VFR lingering there over the eastern Copper River Basin, mostly over the Wrangell Mountains. And marginal VFR, Arctic coast, and some IFR in Norton Sound, mostly IFR, though, over the Bering Sea and staying off the coastline with the exception of the Aleutians and the northern Alaska Peninsula, Kodiak Island, south central Alaska, VFR, marginal and IFR conditions for the southeast coast. And for passes, Anatuvik and Adigan tomorrow looking good, VFR throughout the day, either approach, and Lake Clark and Merrill also VFR coming up for Friday. Either entrance, rainy, same forecast, good VFR there. Windy VFR. Isabel also VFR, but some moisture may keep Mentasta marginal at times throughout the entire day. And for Tenita, VFR looking good there. And Portage also VFR flying through the pass. And Chilkoot and White VFR in both north and south entrances. Taking a look at the freezing levels here at, we've got 10,000 feet there over the Bering Strait and the western Seward Peninsula, sloping down to about 8,000 feet from northern Bristol Bay up across the interior there to the eastern Arctic coast, and then 6,000 feet over the Wrangell Mountains, back up to 8,000 to 10,000 feet over the southern Panhandle, and 8,000 to 14,000 feet out west across the Aleutians. Icing system coming into the western Aleutians tomorrow and tomorrow afternoon. Considerable moderate rime icing coming up very close to the western Aleutians, but staying west of Atka Island. Otherwise, with the other system moving into the southeast coast, areas of considerable moderate rime icing there. Also, mostly over the central and southern areas. Otherwise, some mixed icing over the eastern Alaska Range, maybe the Wrangell Mountains up into and around the Eagle area, upper Tanana Valley included. And that upper disturbance bringing a threat of some icing for the eastern Arctic coast and north slope into the eastern Brooks Range, but that's just a very slight threat. And for the jet stream, high pressure there over the northern Bering Sea and northern interior into the Northwest Territories. Low pressure to the south, one upper low near Montague Island. Good southwest flow, especially cutting into the southern central southeast coast. Strongest, though, back south southeast to Kodiak Island, up to 105 knots. But north to northeast winds up to 65 knots there across the Kuskokwim Valley. And then the jet out west coming up, just nudging up to the western central Aleutians. 9,000 feet, high pressure Bering Sea and the northwest interior. Low pressure southern Gulf of Alaska and south-southwest of Kodiak Island. Getting southwest flow, strongest flow here into the Queen Charlotte. It's mostly northerly over the interior. And for 3,000 feet, about the same pattern. Turbulence, occasional light to isolated moderate chop there from Amchitka Island to Shemya and Attu.
Howdy passengers of Spaceship Earth, Trace here with your weekly astronomical guide to the sky, and this week is a good one. It's the Percy meteor shower. I love meteor showers. It's a great excuse to stay up late and lay outside on a blanket with your family and friends. To find the show, grab a dark patch of grass and face east between 2 and 4 a.m. If conditions are right, the shower will peak at an incredible 50 to 100 meteors per hour. More than 2 every minute. That is so many. You do not want to miss this one. The Perseids meteor shower happens every year as Earth passes through the debris left from the Swift-Tuttle comet, and they appear to emanate from the constellation Perseus. I like to think of it as old Percy taking his annual bath. This year, the Perseids meteor shower will peak on August 13th, and the moon will wane throughout the week, so you'll have a great view while you keep looking up.
Welcome back to another edition of Alaska Weather Facts. I'm meteorologist Dave Snider, and joining me once again is Cindy Preller. She is the Tsunami Program Manager for the National Weather Service in Alaska region. Thanks for joining us again, Cindy.
Thank you, Dave.
We're talking about tsunami awareness and safety here in Alaska especially, and one of the things that has been one of your main focuses is the Tsunami Ready program. What is that, and how do Alaskans find out more?
Awesome. Yeah, Tsunami Ready is a National Weather Service hosted program in partnership with Storm Ready.
Okay.
And it is a program that we conduct with our partners in the state, but it's mostly community driven. So if a community wants to become tsunami ready, well, the first thing they need to do is get a hold of me or their local WCM at a weather forecast office or their tsunami team at the state level.
So, and this is something that's a NOAA grant, so there's money available to help encourage the preparedness at the local level there in the city or the village.
Yeah.
What are some of the places that have done this already?
Oh, our oldest tsunami ready city is Seward,
Good.
you know, but also Sitka, Homer, Valdez are the, the main players, but we've got several tsunami ready communities that I'm very proud of. It takes several years to accomplish this. And so a few of the things that they do is the tsunami risk will be assessed by someone like me or another scientist will help find out, really what their probability is. We'll create an inundation map, an evacuation map. They'll have a mitigation plan. We will set up some partnerships with the schools, make an evacuation shelter, and then they need to practice. But it is the city that owns the program, really. It's up to them. And many cities would like to have sirens, and so we help them get those. And, and they practice. They have to practice.
Sure. So let's say I'm driving into a place like Seward that's tsunami ready. What are some of the things I should look for as maybe a visitor so I know maybe where I need to go or can be more aware of my tsunami risk?
Absolutely. The tsunami ready signage is really blatant. It's this, blue and white curling wave sign, and there's different shapes of signs that'll show you if you are in the hazard zone or where the evacuation routes are and when you're out of shelter.
Okay. So this is a multi-step process that helps the residents be more aware of their own risk, but then also prepare for when that risk arrives.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, many communities sound their sirens daily, some sound them weekly, to make sure everybody knows what they mean. And there's often drills. We have an annual drill once a year. We have Tsunami Awareness Preparedness Week, and that's a good time for each community to do some exercising.
Okay. And is this a program that is unique to Alaska?
Absolutely not. It's national.
Okay.
And all over the country, you'll have the same signage, so it's consistent.
Good. So if I'm taking the kids to California, I should be able to see something familiar.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And, some communities hesitate because they think it'll discourage tourism. And so I would like to tell those communities that what they're actually doing is they're encouraging responsibility.
Sure.
The tsunami's going to happen.
Right.
And it's going to hit every coastline. So, it's not about when. It'll be any time. So the fact that they're showing tourists that they are making steps to be prepared for this, I think would encourage people to want to stay there.
Right, and that would be no different than, say, you or I visiting the Midwest, where we know there's going to be really bad thunderstorms and maybe there's a risk for tornadoes. We're aware of that risk when we go there.
Absolutely. If I see a sign for a tornado shelter, I'm going to remember that.
Right. Okay. All right. So we're just doing a better job of being more prepared with something that's bound to happen again.
I hope so.
Okay. Very good. Where can people go again to learn more about the Tsunami Ready program here in Alaska?
Well, one, there is a Tsunami Ready website. So, you know, just Tsunami Ready,
Google
and that'll
Tsunami
get you
Ready.
there.
Okay.
And then probably the best person for people to contact is their warning coordination meteorologist at their local weather forecast office, which is Anchorage or Juneau, most likely.
Okay. All right. So most of the folks along the Bering Sea coast, again, are not at a huge risk for tsunamis at this
No,
point.
they don't need to worry about it.
Okay,
Thank
very
you.
good. But always learning to be prepared no matter where you are in Alaska, no matter what the risk, always a good step. And tsunami is a major player in that, as we well know from events like 1964.
Alaskans are resilient. I really believe in them.
Very good, very good. Well, Cindy, thank you so much for joining us again, and please make an effort to learn more about the Tsunami Ready program in your village and town if you haven't already. We'll be back with Cindy again next time to talk more about the Tsunami Warning Center in Palmer, Alaska. We actually have a group of geologists working for the National Weather Service, so scratch your head on that one and we'll join you next time. I'll see you next time on Alaska Weather Packs.
And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Welcome back. Looking at today's sea ice analysis. Not much different from what it's been for the last several days, and not a lot of additional change expected for the next 4 or 5 days. So moving on to the coastal water forecasts. For the Panhandle Central Coast, east winds 20 to 25 knots, 7 to 8 foot seas. South winds 20 knots on the south coast, north coast, east at 15. Lynn Canal, Glacier Bay, south winds 15 knots, 3 foot seas, and Stevens Passage, winds will be southeast at 15. Clarence Strait, southeast winds 20 knots, seas 4 feet. And for the first day of the weekend, Saturday, on the south coast of the outer coastline there, south to southeast winds 15 to 20 knots with 8 foot seas, and those winds, 20-knot southerly winds, become easterly and increase to 25 knots or small craft advisories on the north coast with 7 foot seas. Lynn Canal, north winds at 20 knots and southeast 15 for Stevens Passage. Small craft advisories are Clarence Strait for southeast winds at 25 knots. Cook Inlet tomorrow, light northeast breeze at 10 knots with slight seas. Same thing for Prince William Sound. And the North Gulf Coast, all northeast at 10 knots with, in the case of Prince William Sound, seas will be 2 feet, 4 feet there for the North Gulf Coast. Northwest 20 with 4 foot seas for the Barren Islands, and northwest 15 for Kamishak Bay. And for Saturday, look for an increase in the northerly winds. Cook Inlet sustained 20 knots with 5 to 6 foot seas. Northwest 20 knots, Kamishak Bay. Barren Islands, northerly winds at 20 knots. On the North Gulf Coast, look for north winds at 15 knots with 5 to 6 foot seas. Prince William Sound, north winds 15 knots, seas 3 feet. Kodiak Island, east side, we've got northeast winds at 20 knots. Shelikof Strait, southwest at 15. And for Bristol Bay, all the way down to Cape Sarachev there on the north side of the Alaska Peninsula, northwest winds 15 knots. And from Cape Sarachev to Castle Cape, winds will be northeast at 20. And then for Saturday, northwest winds 25 knots for small craft advisories for the Alaska Peninsula, and those will be even stronger from Castle Cape to Sitkinak. Northwest 30 knots there with 8 foot seas. Bristol Bay, northwest at 20. And east side of Kodiak Island, north winds 20 knots. Shelikof Strait, west winds at 20 knots. Western Aleutians, gales, minimum gales in the forecast tomorrow from Kiska to Shemya. East winds 35 knots, 11 foot seas, and Amchitka Island southeast at 30 knots. Winds stay light for Adakanatka out of the east at 15. And also pretty light winds for the eastern Aleutians from a north to east direction at 10 to 15 knots with seas only 3 to 6 feet. And for Saturday on Alaska Island, west winds 10 to 20 knots. And for Unmak Island, small craft advisories coming into the picture late in the day. Southerly winds increasing to 25 to 30 knots. Adakanatka, Possible gale force winds on the Bering Sea side of the islands there at 35 knots from the southeast and 30 knot winds from the south to Amchitka, and then falling back to 20 knots there, Kisk Island to Shemya. For the southwest coast tomorrow, northerlies 15 to 20 knots, strongest south of Nunivak Island with seas as high as 4 feet, and the St. Lawrence Island area west at 15. Light southeast winds for the Pribilofs and St. Matthew Island area. And those will pick up for St. Matthew Island to 25 knots on Saturday. Northwest 25 there for the Kuskokwim Delta coastline. Southeast 15 for the Pribilofs. And west-northwest 15 knots for St. Lawrence Island and the Yukon Delta coast. And for the eastern Beaufort Sea coast, west to south winds at 10 knots with pretty slight seas. A little breezier on the central coast. The seas will be 4 feet with those southwest winds at 20 knots. Same thing for the western Arctic coast, southwest 20 with 5-foot seas. Small craft advisories from Cape Beaufort to Cape Thompson. 25 knot winds out of the southwest. I don't think you'll see the 53 mile per hour wind gusts that Cape Lisburne had today, but it'll still be a little breezy. And then for Saturday, eastern Beaufort Sea coast, west-northwest at 10, south 15 for the central coast. And from Cape Thompson and the western Arctic coast, southwest at 20 knots. Wales to Cape Thompson, southwest at 10. For tonight, rain becomes heavier over the southern panhandle as showers diminish but persist over the southeast interior. Through tomorrow, isolated thunderstorms possible. Aleutian Range, Talkeetnas, central Brooks Range, but sunnier and warmer over much of interior Alaska, even Kodiak Island. Rain heavy at times over the southern panhandle, spreading north, and rain pushes into the pushes in the central Aleutians on the day Saturday with more rain for the panhandle. Sunny and warm, temperatures in the 70s for interior Alaska.
These forecasts are for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating.